Okay, earlier today, this evening, council met in closed session and we rose from this meeting at 5:21 p.m. I'm going to now call the meeting back to order. During the closed session, council members gave direction to approve the minutes of settlement received and an update regarding Ontario Land Tribunal matters and provided direction. It's okay. Oh, sorry about that. Technical difficulties happen. And provided direction to staff regarding a land acquisition matter. So now we're ready to move on to item 5, which is delegations, presentations, and petitions. The first item up tonight is a presentation of the Middlesex Centre Proficiency Award. So I'd like to call Riley Finnegan to the front, and we're going to present the award. I should turn this off, right? Okay, moving right on, we're going to hear the Briscario's Municipal Drain Consideration Report. Mike DeVos of Street Associates is here.
You're actually.
Oh, not here. Okay, and on to. Okay, so item 6 now, the minutes of the July 19th meeting. The motion before us is that the minutes of the July 19th, 2023 meeting of council be adopted as printed. Could I have a mover, please? And a seconder. Councillor Cates and Councillor Hefferton, all in favor? And that motion is carried. Thank you. Consent or report?
Consent agenda.
Okay. On the consent agenda, we have items, 8 items, I guess it is, if I remember. Yes, 8 items. Are there any here that anyone on council would like to comment on or draw attention to? Yes, Deputy Mayor Brennan.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Ernie. The building permits are like 50% of what they were last year. What kind of impact is that going to have on the municipality going forward?
Yeah, through the mayor to Deputy Mayor Brennan. That's a really great question. I guess before I really say about the impact, I'd like to say that the second quarter was actually rather decent in comparison to the first quarter. So I think we've seen a bit of a turn to the positive with the number of permits. In the second quarter, we issued permits for 59 new dwelling units, 59 of the 72. So 3/4 of our new building permits are for new dwellings, and even building permits were issued in the second quarter this year. So that's a good sign of things going forward this year. And we do see some growth opportunities elsewhere in Middlesex Center that we see coming on in the second half. And our neighbors have also seen some good opportunities in the first half this year, such as Southwest Middlesex. They exceeded their numbers from last year with growth. And North Middlesex is seeing some good activity coming in the third and fourth quarter this year in Ailsa Craig. So I do see some light at the end of the tunnel right now, even for Middlesex Center, that hopefully this slowing of the economy will turn around in the second half this year and into next year. But certainly we don't want this to go on for too long. So long-term impacts, we certainly are paying the bills for building division. It is a user pay department that the fees generated pay the staff wages. And that's one of the benefits of a shared service agreement with our 4 partners, is that we all contribute to building division, and it's busier in some areas than others. But long term, we do see a turnaround later this year and into next year. That the numbers we saw in 2020 and 2021 were excessive. It would be difficult to maintain that long term, and it'd be great to see it again. But I think we're getting back to a good level later this year.
Just a follow up, Madam Mayor, through you to Tiffany. Tiffany, with the decrease in building permits, of course, that means a lot less development charges. Is that going to impact the budget for 2024 due to the fact that, you know, we're trying to pay back some development charges and that? So what's that going to look like?
So through you, Mayor DeVete, yeah, there will be impacts with respect to the development charges. Many of the permits that Arnie has spoken about for Q2 relate to also rental dwellings. I believe that was the majority of them would be rental dwellings, which they would be discounted by 20% based on the number of bedrooms. The municipality will have to fund that. So, and that is not due until there's occupancy. So once again, it's also a cash flow issue with development charges. We will not be collecting those until occupancy happens, and they'll be over 6 years. And so the municipality will have to make sure that we're funding that. So yeah, there will be an impact with the development charges, and especially if building is starting to pick up, but there has been a dip with respect to collecting of development charges. So we will see that impacted as well. And additionally, even outside of development charges, with the lower building permits and the new dwellings, we will see a decrease within our supplemental and omitted tax billings. That usually help to support our revenue throughout the year. So that won't occur this year in 2023. We are actually exceeding budget in 2023 for supplemental and omitted assessments being billed out. However, 2024, 2025, I anticipate a little bit of a dip to what we've actually experienced today.
What else? I don't see any hands. I'm just going to mention one thing. On July 4th, I attended the Middlesex Center Firefighters Live Fire Trailer event. That is mentioned here. There's a report number 7.8. I just want to comment on how amazing that experience was. And I wasn't even in a suit. And it was, I don't know, 34 degrees that night. And then everyone who was participating was wearing multiple layers of clothing and then protective gear and the protective helmets and things. The work that our firefighters put into knowing what to do at the right time and when is really commendable. And I just want to say it was really very interesting, and I learned a lot about how things happen. So it was a good experience, and it was worth attending. And I thank the chief for mentioning that it was okay to come by and have a boost. So, you know, kudos to our firefighters. Thank you. All right, moving on now to staff reports. The first item up is the surplus property, the former treatment plant in Kilworth, and our chief sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm moving right along. Yes, I forgot the motion for the consent agenda. I jumped to number 7.8, and this is at the top of the page. That's my excuse. So I'll move please the consent items 7.1 through 7.8 listed on the August 16th, 2023 agenda be adopted as recommended. Mover, please. Councillor Arts and Deputy Mayor Brennan, all in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Now moving to 8.1, I'll turn it over to our Chief Administrative Officer to present the report, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before you is report 8.1. And it's in regards to property that's identified and located in the former community of Kilworth, the former treatment plant located on Jeffreys Road. As council is aware, this used to be the treatment plant for the community village area. It was decommissioned quite a few years ago. Since that time, the property has been decommissioned and is now restored to its land area. The only item that's located on the property itself is just fencing that can be easily removed. The report before you provides an overview of what the land looks like as it sits now presently. And the intent of this report is to seek council direction as to moving ahead with declaring the property surplus to the needs of the municipality. Having reviewed our asset inventory, the land itself serves no need for the municipality. Staff are working with the local conservation Upper Thames to look at easements, any other restrictions that would be considered as part of any declaration if we were to move ahead. However, at this point in time, the lands are restored and they are ready to be declared should council deem them so. So the intent of this report is to receive direction in that regard. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you for that report. I'll look to council. Are there any questions on the report? I don't see any hands. In that case, the motion before us is that report CAO number 23, 2023 regarding surplus property, former treatment plant property in Kilworth be received, and that the property located at 22265 Jeffreys Road, referred to as the former Kilworth treatment plant, be declared surplus, and further that staff proceed with the sale of the subject lands with funds to be invested in the Build Middlesex Centre Reserve Fund. Could I have a mover, please, and a seconder? Councillor Burrs and Councillor Heffernan, all in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. So now we can move to number 8.2, which is an application for plan of condominium. And Marion Cabral, our county planner, is in attendance here tonight to provide an overview of the staff report. The floor is yours when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through to council. The purpose of the staff report is to pass a resolution in support of a condominium exemption request for the property known as 10092 Oxbow Drive. And for those who are familiar with the development, this was previously known as 10072 Oxbow Drive. So the effect of this application would permit the development of 50 vacant land condominium units on 2 hectares of land without going through the full draft plan condominium process. This property was subject to several public review processes as a result of the various development applications, including zoning bylaw amendments and severance applications that we've received in the past few years. And currently the development is being reviewed by staff for site plan approval, and the development agreement is also prepared to be ratified. So the condominium exemption process is used to help streamline condominium approvals where there has been considerable public review of the subject land as well as the proposed development. And by providing the exemption, the applicant will also need to obtain site plan approval with the municipality, but will be exempt from the draft plan approval conditions and move directly to final plan approval. Planning staff are satisfied that an exemption is appropriate for this development since additional approvals or public review processes will not be necessary or provide any additional benefits. As such, planning staff recommend that council pass a resolution showing support of the exemption from the draft plan of condominium approval process and forward that consideration to Middlesex County Council. Thank you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I'll look to council then. Are there questions on the report? Start with you, Councillor.
Through your Madam Mayor to Marion, when I read these reports, I did them on my computer, and I just turned on our own computer, and the location map is the wrong property. So I just thought maybe that should be noted. Thank you. It is on this one. No. Oh, is it just mine? Oh, sorry.
Through the chair, I can confirm that the issue that the council is experiencing is due to our e-scribe system and the naming of files. There has been a duplicate naming of a file in the system, and as such, the system is pointing to an incorrect duplicate file. We'll work with staff and the team to ensure that that's corrected for future. Thank you.
Okay, so that's just a little technical matter, and I've got the right map, and some people do and don't, but it's okay. We all know that it's Oxbow, I think. So are there any content questions or anything for our planner? I don't see any hands. So the motion before us is that council passes a resolution in support of the requested exemption from the condominium approval process as set out in 9 subsection 6 and 9 subsection 10 of the Condominium Act for the lands known as 10092 Oxbow Drive and known legally as Concession 3, Part Lot 6 in the municipality of Middlesex Center, and that the resolution be forwarded to Middlesex County Council for consideration of the exemption request, and that the clerk forward the resolution to Middlesex County Council for the consideration of that exemption request. If I could have a mover, please, and a seconder. Councillor Cates and Councillor Arts, all in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. I just do a check. Okay.
Finish the staff.
Okay. Okay, we are, the clerk has confirmed I should move on to the next staff report. 8.3 annual energy consumption report. And oh, there you are. I thought I knew I saw you come in. Okay, the floor is yours, Aubrey, whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Report for 2021, as required by Ontario Regulation 2523 under Electricity Act 1998. This is a new regulation replacing the OREG 50718. This regulation retains the same policy intent and many of the provision of the former OREG. Key changes in the new regulation include a new reporting tool using Energy Star Portfolio Manager to simplify reporting, changes in the unit of measures used, and finally, changes for the reporting period of 2 calendar years in the past to 1 calendar year in the past. So in 2024 is the transitional year, requiring reporting of 2022 and 2023 energy consumption data. Starting in 2025, we are required to report for 1 year reporting, reporting 2024 energy data in 2025. So how did we do for 2021? Our energy consumption is up from our pre-COVID level. This is due solely in the increase in demand in our facilities. For example, we saw a significant increase in flow from our wastewater treatment plants, where our pumps are running more often. Ilderton Arena and Wellness Center had been busier than ever. Ilderton Arena saw additional curling hours. The Wellness Center saw very busy summer ice and return of busy YMCA camps and library programming. However, despite the increase in our consumption, all our facilities are well below the national average. Even the Wellness Center, which is by far the highest consuming facility in our municipality, is 11% below the national average of the facility with similar square footage, which I believe is quite an accomplishment. I'm happy to answer any question you may have.
Okay, thank you for that report. I'll look to council. Questions on the report. Go ahead, Councillor Cates.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor, to Aubrey. Thank you for the information. I'm happy to hear that the Wellness Center is 11% below the average. When I read this, I did actually contact Scott to ask him, and he said that the solar panels, what the solar panels generate, is not taken off of here. So it's if a person was to only look at the numbers, you'd see, well, what kind of a building is this with its usage, when in actual fact it is generating for, I guess, for others. So I just wanted to add that.
For Madam Mayor, to Councillor Cates, with this report, we're not counting the costs, but solely the consumption by kilowatt hours for electricity and gigajoules for natural gas.
Is there, go ahead, Councillor Heffernan, for sure.
To the mayor, to Aubrey. Well, first of all, I think it's great. The Coldstream Fire Station is net zero, and I mean that's what it was intended for, and that's exactly where we're at with that. But the other comment I have, I noticed that the Ilderton wastewater treatment plant is showing a little bit higher energy usage than the Kamoka one. And I think the Kamoka one likely is higher capacity. So I just wondered if you have a comment on why there's a discrepancy there.
Through Madam Mayor to Council Kapanen. Unfortunately, that's a report that I received from our wastewater departments. But I can get back to you and get their take on why that's what it is.
Thank you, Aubrey. I was just curious. It just sort of stood out that, didn't make sense to me. But okay, thank you very much.
I don't see any other hands. And okay, in that case, we do have a motion before us that the annual energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions report for 2021 be approved for publication. Is there a mover, please, and a seconder? Councillor Cates and Councillor Arts, thank you. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you for that report. Most interesting. I'll look forward to the next one. Okay, and then the last staff report that we have tonight, I'll look to our Director of Public Works and Engineering to talk about the bridge rehabilitation. The floor is yours, Rob, when you're ready.
Thank you. So through Madam Mayor to Council. So this is a report seeking Council approval for our budget overage for bridge rehabilitation. So in our capital budget this year, we had 3 different bridges slated for rehabilitation, and we packaged them together in one tender because of the similar work. So those bridges are, one is located on Benek, one is on Carriage Road, and one is on Westminster. And if you recall, earlier in the year, we came back and did actually look for a budget amendment for one of those bridges earlier in the year to add some additional work that was noted through detailed design. The intent of packaging them together was to improve the tendering process, one for ease of management of the tendering, but also for beneficial pricing, it being a larger project, and so some economies of scale. Unfortunately, the result of the tendering process was that the low price that came back was about 40% over what the estimate was, or sorry, over what the budget was. The estimate was actually slightly different, but about 40% over our budgeted amount to varying degrees on each of the bridges, but resulted in a substantial overage of $307,257. So that's the overage that we're seeking for approval. We did look at various options on how to handle this. So our option 1 would be to proceed with the work, approve the overage, and proceed with all the work in 2023. Option 2 would be to go back and break up the projects into the 3 smaller projects, try to retender, see if we could get some smaller contractors to bid the work and with improved pricing. I will note that we did have 3 tenders received, 3 bids received. One was excluded, the high one was excluded because of some unfair weighting within the tender itself. The two low bids were relatively close together. I think less than 10% separated them. Option 3 would be to defer all the work to 2024, retender it again as one large package and see if we could get improved pricing. We had actually hoped to receive, decent pricing this year, because some contractors do seem to be a bit slower this year, although I know there have been, I had heard some concern earlier in the year about the concern of structure work, the pricing of structure work this year. Then option 4 would be to defer a portion of the work. So we could pull out one project, say Bridge B314, the value of that work is almost the same as the overage. But what could happen is that if we pull that work from the contract, the contractor may want to renegotiate the price because we've lessened the amount of work that they would be available to them. So, so those are the 4 options that we put forward. Our staff recommend going with option 1, approving the budget overage. I know it is significant, but we also know that we don't want to fall behind on the maintenance and replacement of structures, because we're only going to pay for it down the line. So we would like to continue with the work this year upon council's approval. And happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that report. And I think there may be some questions and conversations. I'll start with Councillor Burrs and I see Deputy Mayor Brennan's hand.
There we go. Couple of questions. How do we tender this out? Is it through some portal?
Yeah, I guess we'll go back and forth on the buttons here. So through Madam Mayor to Councillor Burrs, yes, it's through bids and tenders. So it's a public process, but we only received 3 bids.
So you're confident the way we're tendering is getting enough bidders? There's no other better way to do it? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, through Madam Mayor. Yeah, we do feel that's the best way. It hits the whole market, right? It's open to everyone. We can reach out to individual companies as well and let them know that it's there, right? And sometimes we can do that, but ultimately that's the best public process.
So just a following question. So in the original scoping out of the project, and I think we hire a consultant to help us with this, to prepare the tender. Was it that where is it here? The bridge pads were missed? Or like, how do we not capture everything up front? Is it that you need more detail when you get into it, you find out it's more involved?
So originally, the projects are identified through the OSIM reports, and they have an estimate with them. They're from a very high level review of each structure. So earlier in the year, when we had started the detailed design process, one of the bridges was required, or was upon detailed review in the field, it was recommended that additional work be done, and that's where that I think it was 160,000 additional budget came in. The estimate of after design, I think, was actually around 800,000 or a little over 800,000. So the engineer's estimate was a bit higher than our budget, but then the actual tender price came in even higher than the engineer's estimate. We've seen it before. The engineers obviously do the best job they can with like structures and recent pricing. But
Deputy Mayor Brennan?
Yeah, my question was along the same council affairs. I was just wondering, the overage, was it material cost or the engineer underestimated the cost to redo the bridge? Because if it's construction cost itself, there's not much we can do about that. But if the engineer is underestimating the cost to replace these bridges by 50%, that's a real concern for me that they're not doing their job properly.
Yeah, I would echo that concern. Obviously, with our asset management and replacement values moving forward, we want to have a good handle on those. I had, and I don't remember just what time it was earlier in this year, but I heard, I think actually it was from the county, Mr. Trainee had identified that they had expected very high increases in some of their structure costs as well, which I was quite surprised at the time to the extent, but now we're seeing that essentially. So certainly there's usually a contingency and a buffer built in, but this exceeded what their expectations were.
Pardon me, Councillor Arts, go ahead with your question.
Through Madam Mayor to Rob, I agree with going ahead. I think all the municipalities are going to find within the next 5 to 10 years, there's a lot of bridge work repairs that are being done, and to try to delay it is just going to pile everything up. So I agree. Thanks.
Is there anyone else? Yeah, I just echo the comments too, and that's partly why we have, not partly, I mean, the asset management plan is there for a reason, and unless there's some kind of extenuating reason to wait, letting things stack up isn't going to do us any favors. So, and then we have the surprises to contend with too. So, yeah, if there is no one else, and there is a motion before us, and that is that council receive report PWE number 34, 2023 budget overage for bridge rehabilitation, and the council approved the overage to the budgets 23-3124 in the amount of 148,610.34 cents. Number 23-3117 in the amount of 108,862.33 cents. And number 23-3122 in the amount of 49,780 $4.33 as contained in this report for a total overage amount of $307,257. Could I have a mover, please, and a seconder? Deputy Mayor Brennan and Councillor Burrs, all in favor? And that is carried. That brings us to the end of staff reports, and we're going to move back to the item that we skipped. That would be the Briscario's Municipal Drain Consideration Report. I should mention to members of the public, you're welcome to come and go as you please, depending on your schedules. We welcome people to stay and listen, but if there are other things that are pressing, feel free to take your leave. So, George, I'm going to say your last name wrong, probably. I would like to welcome you tonight, and the floor is yours when you're ready to present.
Thank you. Through your worship, we are pleased to present our report here. This report was authorized and authored by Mike DeVos, who was unable to be here tonight. So I'm George Rake, and I'm another professional engineer at our firm, and I'm here to present the report tonight. So this request was a petition request. It was not a request for improvement, so there was not an existing drain here. The proponent needed a legal outlet for their site. The existing drainage patterns were maintained. So this site's located in the vicinity of Egremont Drive and Headley Drive, or Egremont Drive and Headley Drive there, just west of the intersection there. That land currently slopes towards a county road ditch down into what's called the Zavitz drain. So this petition here was accommodated by constructing a 8-inch tile or 200 millimeter diameter for about 140 meters. And then it outlets into the existing county road ditch, which is going to see some minor improvements where it's conveyed over to the existing Zavitz drain. This is the existing drainage pattern, and it is approximately an agricultural design. It is not a storm sewer design. However, it is a storm sewer style pipe, so it will be expected to have a long lifespan and not expected to have roots and other things that we see be an issue with agricultural tiles. The cost of this work is estimated at, I'm just going to double check that number here, at $56,900. And I would anticipate construction would be completed within the next 12 months once this is passed. If there's any questions through your worship, I would welcome them now.
Thank you for that report. And I know we have some members of the public here in attendance. I just want to confirm whether or not you are here for the drain. If you are, then you have an opportunity also to comment or ask a question. So just raise your hand if this is something that you want to speak to. Okay. All right. In that case, then I will look to council members. Any questions, comments, clarifications? I don't see it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Councillor Kate.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to clarify. I thought that I remember when I was reading this, so you just said it's the cost is $56,900, but then I don't know why I was thinking as I went on that then it turned into 200,000. So I don't know if I was reading something else. So the cost of this is 56,900. As you. Oh, sorry.
Yes, through you, your worship. The estimated cost is $56,900. There is some provincial grant available for this, so the cost to the landowners and the roads in this situation would be estimated at $52,900 out of pocket expense.
There are no other questions, and we do have a motion before us. Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Arts, go ahead.
Through your Madam Mayor to, sorry, George. When you reseed the ditch banks and that, I know that some farmers are getting a little upset with some of the materials that are being used because they become invasive in the field. So I want to make for sure that you consult make for sure that they're on the same page. So if they agree to what you're seeding, then they can't say that you did something wrong. Thank you.
Oops. Thank you, through your worship. Yeah, we will have a pre-construction meeting here, and we can certainly bring that up at the pre-construction meeting to see. We will review the seed mix that is indicated on the drawings and specifications to make sure that it's acceptable to them. We have particularly in your township seen this raised as a concern in the past, and we will address that at the time of the pre-construction to make sure there's no concerns.
Anyone else? Okay. In that case, the motion before us is that the Council for the Municipality of Middlesex Centre receives the Proscarios drain report. Is it from Lake? Presenter. Oh, so okay, this, I just want to make sure I use the right word. So it is from Mike DeVos of Speed Associates dated April 17th, 2023, and authorizes that the project proceed. And that the Court of Revision will meet on September 20th, 2023. And further, that Councillor Arts, Councillor Shipley, and Deputy Mayor Brennan be appointed to sit as the members of the Court of Revision, with Deputy Mayor Brennan being the chair. Could I have a mover, please, and a seconder for the motion? Councillor Cates, Councillor Burrs, all in favor? And that is carried. All righty. So now we have to jump back to Committee of Adjustment. Yes, here we are. So that's on, we have to go into the Committee of Adjustments. So the motion before us right now is that Council adjourn its regular meeting at 6:14 p.m. in order to sit as a Committee of Adjustment under Section 45 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended to consider minor variance applications listed on the August 16th, 2023 agenda. And I'm just going to go through an order of proceedings and the process here. So members of the pub. Oh, sorry. Yeah, mover and seconder, please. Councillor Cates, Deputy Mayor Brennan, all in favor? And now we're in the Committee of Adjustment. So I just want to run through quickly all of the procedure parts here and note that members of the public that wish to receive further notification of any of the minor variance applications being considered today, ask that you please send an email to planning@middlesexcentre.ca requesting further notification. Please be advised that comments expressed and written material presented are a matter of public record. If you have any questions on any of the applications that are being heard today, we ask that you direct those to the appropriate planner on file. Members of the public that have requested to speak will be given a maximum of 10 minutes to address council and provide comments on the applications. In keeping with our procedural bylaw and our R-zone policy, I would remind all of our meeting participants to use respectful language and uphold our values of cooperation, trust, and openness. So the order of proceedings is that I'm going to ask the planner to explain the purpose of the application and hearing and present the staff report. Then the applicant or their agent will have an opportunity to speak to their application. Next, the public who have registered to speak or who are in attendance will be asked for their comments. Please state your name so that it can be noted in the meeting minutes. Then the municipal clerk or planner will note additional comments received from circulated agencies and the public not included in the planning report. Then I'll look to the committee to ask questions of the applicant and or staff. And finally, then I'll ask for motions regarding the applications. So with that, we can go to our application for minor variance, and Dan Fitzgerald, County Planner, is here to provide an overview of the staff report. Floor is yours when you're ready, Dan.
To the chair, thanks, Mayor and members of the committee. So the first application that we have here tonight, or I guess the only application we have for variance tonight, is 9.1 being A13/2023. And the purpose and effect of this application is to seek permission to increase the maximum lot coverage for the single detached dwelling on the lot to 43%, whereas the bylaw permits a maximum lot coverage of 40% in this particular zone. And this would, the effect of it would be to be able to construct an attached coverage structure off the rear of the existing home. So the property is located on the south side of Daventry Way and is municipally known as 412 Daventry. The property contains an existing single detached dwelling. It's designated settlement area in the county official plan, residential in Middlesex Centre's official plan, and it's zoned a residential first density exception 38 zone in the comprehensive zoning bylaw. The applicant is proposing to place the structure in the rear yard of the property. It's to be located fully behind the existing single detached dwelling, and it is intended to act as a private outdoor amenity area for the residents. So upon circulation of the application, I did not receive any comments from the public. Also, I did not receive any objections from internal or external stakeholders. In review of the application against the four tests for a minor variance in the Planning Act, I am of the opinion that the proposed increase to the lot coverage is considered minor in nature. It would meet the intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw, and it is considered appropriate and desirable use of the land, given that it is directly associated with the residential use. So given the above, I am recommending that application A13-2023 be approved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that report. The applicant, neither the applicant nor an agent for them has registered to speak. Is anyone in the public wishing to address? No. Okay. Are there any questions from council members on this file? No one has any questions, so this is simple. The motion before us is that the minor variance application A-13-2023 filed by Steve Midigal on behalf of Thomas Sumter for relief from the zoning bylaw in order to establish a maximum lot coverage of 43% for a single detached dwelling, whereas the zoning bylaw permits a coverage of 40% for a property municipally known as 412 Daventry Way be granted, and that the reasons for granting the minor variance application A-13-2023 are that the request complies with the general intent and purpose of Middlesex Center official plan and comprehensive zoning bylaw. The request is minor in nature and the request represents appropriate development on the subject property. Could I have a mover, please, and a seconder? Councillor Cates and Councillor Heffernan, thank you. All in favor? And that is carried. Alrighty, now we have to adjourn and move into public meetings. So the motion before us is that the Committee of Adjustment adjourn at 6:20 p.m. and council resume the regular meeting, and that council moved into public meetings also at 6:20 pursuant to the Planning Act RS 1990 as amended to consider the applications listed on the August 16th, 2023 council agenda. So again, the proceedings are the same. We're going to ask that the public who want to receive notification send an email to planning@Middlesex Center requesting further notifications, and be advised that these are a matter of public record. If there are any questions, you should be directing your comments and questions to the appropriate planner on file. The order of proceedings is exactly the same as we just had for Committee of Adjustment. I'll ask the planner to explain the report, and then we'll ask if the applicant or agent would like to speak to the application. Any public that have registered will be asked for their comments. Anyone who's present and not registered will be able to make their comments. I'll look to council then to ask questions of delegate staff or the applicant, and then we will consider motions regarding the application. So the first item up is an application for a zoning bylaw amendment, and this is Marion Cabral's file. If you'd like to present your report, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you to council. The municipality received a zoning bylaw amendment application for the land known as 13082 Medway Road, which is located on the north side of Medway Road and east of Denfield Road. The purpose of this application is to rezone the lands for a temporary use zone to permit the construction of a new single detached dwelling while living in the existing dwelling on the property. This temporary use zone would apply for a period of up to 3 years, and upon expiration or completion of this new dwelling, the existing dwelling would also need to be removed. So the subject land is approximately 50 acres in area and contains active agricultural land as well as some regulated area, and it is surrounded by agricultural uses. This property does contain the single detached dwelling as well as accessory buildings and barns, and is serviced by private septic and well. So this application is generally consistent with the policies of the PPS, County Official Plan, and Middlesex Center Official Plan. The application was circulated to area residents, agencies, and staff. Staff did not receive any comments from area residents at the time of writing the staff report or leading up to the public meeting. However, UTRCA confirmed that they don't have issues with the proposed rezoning. However, if the proposed dwelling is located within the regulated area, the applicant may need to obtain approvals or permits from the CA. Municipal staff have requested that the applicant also submit a deposit of $15,000 as well as enter into an agreement with the municipality. And this is to ensure the removal of the existing dwelling. As such, planning staff determined that the requested zoning bylaw amendment for a temporary use zone for a period of 3 years is consistent with all applicable policies, including the Middlesex Center official plan. And staff recommend that the application be approved and that the owner enter into a temporary use agreement with the municipality and submit a deposit to the municipality. Thank you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you for that report. Are there any members of the public in attendance virtually or in person who would like to comment on this? I don't see any hands or nods there. I'll look to council. Any questions of the planner or any, no hands there either. Okay, the motion before us in that case is that the zoning bylaw amendment application, that is ZBA-11-2023 for a temporary use zone filed by Trish Brennan on behalf of James Brennan and Percy Brennan to permit 2 single detached dwellings on one property for up to 3 years to allow a new residence to be constructed on the land known as 13082 Medway Road be approved, and that the owner be required to enter into a new temporary use agreement with the municipality and submit a deposit of $15,000 to ensure the removal of the existing residence. Is there a mover, please, and a second? Councillor Burrs, Councillor Cates, all in favor? And that is carried. The next item up is an application for zoning bylaw amendment Poplar Hill. And Marion, that is again your file. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through to council. So this application is very similar to the previous file. This application was received for the property known as 25117 Poplar Hill Road, which is located on the west side of Poplar Hill Road, south of Graystead Drive. So again, the purpose of this application is to request a temporary use zone for a period of up to 3 years, in order to construct a new dwelling on the property. This property is 25 acres in area and contains regulated area as well as significant woodland. However, the significant woodland and the regulated area is located to the rear of the property. As well, the property is also surrounded by agricultural uses. Again, this application is consistent with the policies of the PPS, County Official Plan, and Middlesex Center Official Plan. The application was circulated to area residents, agencies, and staff. And at the time of writing this report and leading up to this public meeting, municipal staff did not receive any comments from agencies or the public. Again, municipal staff have requested that the applicant submit a deposit and enter into an agreement with the municipality to ensure the removal of that existing dwelling. As such, planning staff determined that the requested zoning bylaw amendment for a temporary use zone for a period of 3 years is consistent with all applicable policies, and staff recommend that the application be approved and that the owner enter into an agreement with the municipality and submit a deposit to the municipality. Thank you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, that's the report. Is there anyone in the public or online or in person who'd like to comment? Okay, that's no one there. And council, is there anyone who'd like to ask a question? Seeing no hands then, the motion before us is that the zoning bylaw amendment application, oopsie daisy, wrong one, ZBA 10-2023 for a temporary use zone filed by Bridlewood Homes on behalf of Scott McGregor and Lori Borsado to permit two single detached dwellings on one property for up to 3 years to allow a new residence to be constructed on the land known as 25117 Poplar Hill Road be approved, and that the owner be required to enter into a new temporary use agreement with the municipality and submit a deposit of $15,000 to ensure the removal of the existing residence. Could I have a mover for that, please, and a seconder? Councillor Burrs and Councillor Heffernan, all in favor? And that is carried. Item B15-2023, and this would be Dan's file for Denfield Road.
Through the chair, thanks, Mayor, members of council. So the purpose of consent file B15-2023 is to sever an existing 2-acre residential lot, which is located in Denfield. So as proposed, the applicant is seeking to establish a new residential lot with a frontage of approximately 44.8 meters and an area of 0.92 acres on Denfield, while the retained land would maintain a frontage of 55.8 meters and an area of approximately 1.13 acres. And then the effect of this would be to establish a new lot to build a single detached residence. So the property is municipally addressed 23830 Denfield Road and does contain an existing single detached dwelling as well as associated accessory residential uses such as a pool and a shed. The property is also bisected by the Lake Huron water supply line at an angle, which runs across the rear of the property. It maintains a private septic system as well as a municipal water connection to Denfield. The applicant is proposing to sever a 0.92 acres, which is south of the existing residence, in order to establish a new residential building lot. Through their engineering studies, the applicant has identified that the lands proposed to be severed are capable of meeting minimum lot size requirements to provide an adequate building pocket for a new home, as well as enough room for a septic system, as well as a 100% contingency area. Likewise, the applicant has moved the former septic system on the lands to be fully outside of the property boundaries of the new lot, while also being able to identify an appropriate contingency area as well. It is noted that all development as proposed does remain fully outside of the Lake Huron water supply line easement that does bisect the back of the property. Staff have circulated the application in accordance with the Planning Act. No comments were received from the public, and all internal comments or agency comments have been included in the report and do formulate conditions of the consent. I have reviewed the proposal against the provincial policy statement, the county official plan, as well as town or local official plan. The proposed severance does meet or is capable of meeting the intent of the above policies through conditions of consent. So given the above, I am recommending approval of consent application B15-2023, again, subject to the conditions that are outlined in the planning report. Thank you.
And thank you for that report. Are there any people here that would like to speak? Yes, okay. Dan? Dan, okay. Oh, he's there. Okay, I was thinking, you're pointing, but you're pointing at your screen. Yes, so, are you there, Dan?
Thank you, Your Worship. Greetings to you, members of council. And
are there any comments that?
Dan Smith.
I don't know that we're hearing everything you're saying. Is there something you'd like to add or comment to me, Dan?
I can, sorry, I can barely hear you, Your Worship. My apologies. The audio connection isn't all the best. I just wanted to say that I'm here on behalf of Finlater and Associates. Stuart Finlater couldn't be present tonight. We are just in support of the application, and we're here essentially to answer any questions, if at all possible.
All right, thank you very much for that, Dan. I don't think there are any members of the public who are here to comment. So I will now look to council. Are there questions of council on the file? Yes, Councillor Heffernan, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay, through the mayor to Dan, I was just curious, did we not see this property last year or year before, and a portion was being severed and merged with the adjoining property?
Yes, so through the chair to Councillor Heffernan, yes, you're 100% correct. So they had applied in the past, I think actually twice, to remove a portion of the lands and give it to the neighboring parcel of land. However, they did allow the severance to lapse in both cases, so that severance did not go through.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure we're thinking straight.
Okay, are there any other questions from anyone on council? I don't see any hands. In that case, the motion before us is that consent applications B-15, 2023, filed by Stuart Finlater on behalf of Lucas and Patricia Oslislo in order to sever a residential lot from a 2-acre residential property to facilitate the construction of a single detached dwelling on the severed lot, with the severed lot having a frontage of approximately 44.8 meters along Denfield Road and a depth of approximately 82.5 meters and an area of approximately 0.92 acres, and the retained frontage of approximately 55.8 meters along Denfield Road, a depth of 81.9 meters and approximately 1.13 acres from a property legally described as part of Lot 28, Concession 15 South in the municipality of Middlesex Centre be granted, and that the consent B-15, 2023 be subject to the 15 conditions that staff noted in the report, and further that the reasons for granting the consent application include that it is consistent with the provincial policy statement, the proposal conforms with the County of Middlesex official plan and the Middlesex Centre official plan, and subject to the condition, the proposal complies with the Middlesex Centre comprehensive zoning bylaw. Do I have a mover, please, and a seconder for that? Councillor Arts and Councillor Heffernan, all in favor? And that is carried. Thank you for your time, Mr. Smith. And we can now move on to consent application for 115 Prince Street. And Dan, the file is yours.
Yeah, so through the chair to members of council. So the municipality has an application for consent to establish a private easement as a result of a provisionally approved severance application. The purpose and effect of the application is to establish a 6.4 meter private easement, which is intended to house a private sanitary line from the existing municipal sanitary main on Prince Street. The easement would establish a development restriction zone on part 2 of the severance plan, which would permit the location of the private sanitary line for the purposes of providing sanitary services to part 3 on the severance plan. As a private line and a private easement, the municipality would not be responsible for maintaining the connection. While the municipality would typically require the extension within the municipal right-of-way, staff have concluded that its location as a private line outside of the municipal right-of-way would be beneficial to both parties in this case. I have reviewed the proposal against the PPS county official plan and local official plan. The location of the easement on the parcel, while not typical, would not interfere with the proposed building pockets on the proposed corner lot, as the existing zone already requires an 8 meter exterior side yard setback. So it's a no development inclusion zone anyways. So given that, it is considered to be appropriate. As such, I am recommending approval of consent application B-16, 2023, subject to conditions that are outlined in the planning report. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for that report. Are there any members of the public present virtually or in person? Seeing none, then council. Okay, I'll start with Councillor Cates and then I'll take Councillor Bruce.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, to Dan. I just have a question for my old curiosity brain here. In looking at the location map, so is the water on Prince, and they're doing this to run it to that back lot behind that's in green? Because if yes, how did the other new lots behind there get serviced? You said there's no water on Duke Street?
Yeah, just so through the chair to Councilor Cates, just for clarification, it's a sanitary line, not water. So Duke Street doesn't have an existing municipal sanitary main running down it. So what they're proposing to do in this particular case is instead of placing the sanitary main within the Duke Street road allowance, having to go and cut up the road and place the line, they're suggesting that in this case, it be a private line that extends across the private lands as a condition of the consent. And then to further answer your question there, the previous consent files that we did have, basically, it was the same situation that occurred on the Arthur Street consents, where the easement was placed in the rear yards of the property to bring a sanitary line to service each individual property through that way. For the same reason, basically, it wasn't feasible for the municipality to require the line to be extended down Duke Street at that time.
Just for clarification, Dan, unless I'm misinterpreting it, 115 is the existing parcel. Then there's parcel 2 and 3. If you look at this diagram, isn't the house on 115 overhanging parcel 2? Is it not encroaching on it? Or is that just a perspective thing? Is that a shadow, or looks like part of the house in 115 is in parcel 2? But you didn't see that when you investigated, right? No? Or is it, you know what I mean?
So yes, through the chair, Councilor Burr. So if you're looking at the proposed severance sketch there, I'm not sure exactly what picture you're looking at, but if you do look at the proposed severance sketch, which is I guess the third attachment there, what it shows is part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4 on that particular severance sketch. So part 4, which is shown as the green area there, is where they're showing or the proposed location of the sanitary easement. Part 1 shows the extent of the existing single detached dwelling. So on that particular parcel of land, it shows the side wall of the house being 1.5 meters to the blue line, which is the new proposed property line for lot 2.
Is there anyone else? Very well, then the motion before us is that that consent application B16 2023 to establish a sanitary maintenance and access easement in favor of the severed lands conditionally approved in severance application B14 2022 and B4 2023, described as part 4 on the attached severance plan on the lands municipally known as 115 Prince Street, Mocha, be granted. And further, that consent B16 2023 be subject to the 7 conditions that are noted in the staff report. And further, that the reasons for granting consent application B16 2023 include the proposal is consistent with the provincial policy statement, it conforms to the County of Middlesex official plan and the Middlesex Centre official plan, and the proposal complies with the Middlesex Centre comprehensive zoning bylaw. Do I have a mover, please, and a seconder? Councillor Burrs and Councillor Cates, all in favor? And that is carried. And now we can move to 16. Yeah, I don't know whose file it is.
Dan's.
Oh, it's sorry. Okay, I was just looking to go ahead, Dan. The floor is yours for the Richmond Street and 16 Mile Road.
Through the chair to members of council. So item 10.5 on the agenda, consent file B17 2023 and the concurrent zoning bylaw amendment Z9 2023. So the purpose and effect of the application in this case is to cancel an existing certificate of consent to allow for a previously severed parcel to remerge with the parent agricultural parcel. Additionally, the zoning bylaw amendment would recognize the lot as one comprehensively zoned agricultural parcel, while also recognizing a reduced frontage requirement and an undersized nature of the agricultural lands. And then the effect of it would be to basically allow for the property to remerge on title so that the applicant could construct a addition on their dwelling. So the property in this case is located on the northeast corner of the intersection at Richmond Street and 16 Mile Road. It was previously subject to a surplus dwelling consent application in 2016, However, a new owner has purchased the lands and wishes to remerge the house with the farmland in order to permit the expansion of the dwelling as well as eliminate any concerns with MDS for any livestock that are located on the parcel. The application has been circulated and no comments were received from the public, and no internal or external agencies have documented any concerns. So I would note that under provincial changes through Bill 108, approval authorities now have the option to cancel a consent through the issuance of what's referred to as a certificate of cancellation. In review of the request, planning staff feel that this request is appropriate and it is desirable to maintain the dwelling with the farmland. Additionally, the request to rezone is necessary to permit the agricultural operation of the parcel to continue. So given the above, I am recommending that the clerk be authorized to issue the certificate of cancellation and that the zoning bylaw amendment be approved and that a bylaw be brought forward for consideration once proof of the lots remerging on title has been provided to the municipality. Thank you.
And thank you for that report. The clerk has informed me that Ms. Erica De Loreto is here to speak on behalf of the applicant. And no, there he comes. We'll just wait a minute till we get hooked up.
Hello, are you able to hear me?
You could just speak up a little bit. I think it'll be, we can hear you, but not clearly.
Okay, sorry about that, Your Worship. I'm just on a older computer, so I don't know if it's picking me up very well.
So we'll move through the list and you can answer questions if there are any. Okay, so I'll just start then. Are there any members of the public here to speak to this? No? Okay. I will look to council then. Do you have questions on the report or? Yes, I'll look to Councillor Heffernan, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through Dan, I just want to clarify. So in 2016, a surplus farm dwelling was approved and it did go through. So there was surplus farm dwelling and the agricultural land. Now, were they continuously owned by the same owner or were they separate? And then part two of that is, if it did go through, is the new owner then he has purchased both pieces?
Yes, so through the chair to Councillor Heffernan. So my understanding on the history of the file is that the original parcel was severed by the owner of the farm itself. And then subsequently it was sold to another individual. That individual bought both the house as well as the farmland. So in this particular case, given that the Planning Act always lists the theory, once a consent, always a consent, you can always re-register a consent. So properties don't remerge on title. The only way to do that now is, well, previously we used to call them burning consents, where you'd have to dedicate a portion of land to like a roadway to remove it from the parcel. However, under the Bill 108 changes, it actually authorizes the municipality the ability to go in and cancel original certificate of consent. So in this particular case, what they're just seeking to do is the new owner, because when they bought both parcels, they don't automatically merge on title, which they typically would, because it was a condition of consent. What they're seeking to do in this case is basically cancel that original consent altogether so that the parcels can remerge back together as one.
Is there anything else? Okay, I don't see any hands. We do have a motion before us that the zoning bylaw amendment application as filed by Jack Souza on behalf of Shmoo Fari in order to rezone the property known municipally as 24072 Richmond Street and 14434 16 Mile Road from surplus residence SR and agricultural no residences A3 to the site-specific agricultural A1 zone be approved, and that the zoning bylaw amendment be brought forward following the merger of the two lots, subject to the amendment and confirmation from the applicant's solicitor that the severed lot of consent B-5/16 may not be transferred without a further consent from the municipality. And further, that as permitted under the Planning Act, the clerk be authorized to issue a certificate of cancellation confirming that subsection 50, subsection 12 of the Planning Act does not apply in respect of the land, and that subsection 50, section 3 and 5 applies to subsequent conveyance or other transaction involving the land, authorizing the lands to remerge while removing their rights to be conveyed without further future consent. Could I have a mover for that, please, and a seconder? Councillor Burrs, Deputy Mayor Brennan, all in favor? And that is carried. Okay, that's the last planning item. So we have a motion before us that the public meetings adjourn at 6:48 p.m. and that council resume the regular meeting. Is there a mover, please? Councillor Arts, Councillor Heffernan, all in favor? And now we can move to correspondence. Thank you. That was carried, by the way. All right. There are five items on correspondence. Is there anything here anyone wants to highlight or ask about? Seeing none, the motion before us is then that the correspondence items number 13.1 through 13.5 listed on the August 6, 2023 agenda be received as information. Mover, please, and a seconder. Councillor Heffernan and Councillor Cates, thank you. All in favor? And that carries. I'll look now to the Deputy Mayor to give us an update on the County Council meeting that was held yesterday.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Be somewhat short since the council meeting for unforeseen circumstances had to be cut short. The main portion we did get through was the Middlesex London Paramedic Service strategic plan and the Middlesex London Paramedic Service annual report. I have those two reports here. They're rather lengthy, so if anyone has any questions or wants to take a look at them, I did print them off and they're here for anybody that wants to look at them. Beyond that, the health unit people were there and started their presentation, but it was cut short and they didn't have a chance to get into the finance part of it. So that was virtually all we accomplished yesterday. Thank you.
That is going to be the shortest report from County Council. Yeah. Okay. Under other business, does any councillor wish to speak to anything or raise anything? No. I'm going to, this is technically the first meeting of the month. I usually give an update on what I did in the previous month. So going back now to July 1st, I started the day off in Bryanston for breakfast. Saw some of you there. And then went to Mount Bridges to participate in the parade. I was invited to join the Poplar Hill Hillbillies. And I went for a grand musical ride on the main street of Mount Bridges. And thanks again to the Hillbillies. It was a real hoot. Thank you kindly. On the 4th of July, I joined the firefighters, as I mentioned earlier, at the live trailer fire. And that report again was mentioned in our package. On July 5th and 19th, I attended our regular council meetings on July 10th and 18th. The 10th was the inaugural meeting of the County Building Committee. It was the first time we got together to start working on the plans for the new county building so that we will be ready to move when the time comes. And on the 18th and the 25th, we had County Council. On the 20th, I had two committee and board meeting for the health unit. And didn't a storm come through that night? It was a virtual meeting. We alternate between virtual and in person. So I missed all of them. It's unfortunate, but I wasn't the only one apparently. On the 24th of July, I joined our council members and staff for a tour. The infrastructure tour was a great opportunity to see our facilities and get caught up in what has been changed since the last time we did that, which was quite some time ago. We got to see staff in action at the wastewater treatment plant and also working on Hyde Park Road. So it was a good tour and a great way to see what's getting done hands-on. On the 26th, the National Science and Engineering Research Council gave a grant to Vancouver, Calgary, Toronto, and Middlesex Center. And an event was held at our facility in the community center in Kamoka. And it was a really exciting meeting because the project that we heard about, and it focuses on reducing greenhouse gases at wastewater treatment plants. It was really interesting. I've never seen scientists, I think, have sort of a stereotypical image. This was a group of people who were so excited for the project and enthralled and engrossed and excited. It was really very interesting to be there and hear the conversation and what was being planned. And I can't wait to hear for the updates as we move forward. This is a great opportunity for our wee, tiny, small municipality to participate in work that's being done across Canada. So congratulations to our staff for going after that too. So on the 20th, I went to the monthly AMO executive meeting, and on the 28th, I was going to go to watch a movie in the park in Kamoka. Everyone should remark their calendars. That's coming up on the 24th. Yeah, so yeah, barring the frequent showers that we're having, it'll be an event to go to. So the other thing I'd like to mention tonight is that I'd like to welcome Sophie Weisterovich, who joined the Middlesex Center crew on Monday. And she has completed a bachelor's degree in communications from Laurentian University and has most recently worked in the Greater Sudbury area. And she served there as a development approvals coordinator and later as a web communications and office assistant for the Department of Strategic and Environmental Planning. And we're very glad that she's very familiar with municipal operations, communications, and customer service. She's going to be a great asset to Middlesex Center. So we're excited to have her on board as a new administrative assistant and supporting our legislative services and communications team. So welcome aboard, and we wish you all the best as you follow your path through Middlesex Center. So that's everything I have tonight. If there's nothing else, then we have the bylaws, and the motion before us is that bylaws 20. Sorry, is there a question? Oh, okay. We have more other business. Sorry to cut that off. The floor is yours, Hugh, when you want.
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, I wasn't sure whether I should address this now or when we had 3 bylaws that got added late to our agenda. And we usually get the bylaws on a Thursday. First thing I do is figure out how many pages I got to read, and rough rule of thumb is a minute a page. So I schedule my time. Monday morning, I had questions, so sent them off, got them answered. Life's good. Tuesday morning, I open up my email and, oh, 3 bylaws added. Okay. You know, a couple pages, who cares? 370 pages. I'm going, ugh. So I can't do this today. I shouldn't do that today. We're farmers. If it would have been seeding time or planting time, I wouldn't have looked at them. And tonight I would have voted against the bylaws because I didn't have a chance to read them. So I hope the people that submitted these realize that maybe the next time it might not work. Thank you. Oops, sorry.
Okay, is there anybody else? Okay, that's the last. Okay, so we do have the bylaws 2023, number 85 through 97 listed on the agenda. And they should be, we ask that they're approved in the motion. So is there a mover for that motion and a seconder, please? Councillor Burrs and Deputy Mayor Brennan, all in favor? And that is carried. And finally, we have the adjournment bylaw. Motion, pardon me, and that is that Council for the Municipality of Middlesex Center adjourns the August 16th, 2023 Council meeting at 6:56 p.m. Councillor Burrs and Councillor Heffernan. Thank you. All in favor? And that is the end of our meeting.